So, hey guys, and welcome to a brand new video here on the View from the Crowd YouTube channel. And you can probably already guess what I'm going to be talking about in this video is going to be uncut, straight from the heart. I'll probably just upload it, genuinely just upload it out how it is, because I really want to get this off my chest. You know, the time is currently 12:30 in the morning. I'm supposed to be writing my final year dissertation, which is due in less than a week. I'm trying to write that, and all I can think of right now is how the club that I've supported since the age of 5 for almost 16 years of my life have just sold English football, even potentially European football, down the river. They've knowingly, willingly potentially ruined English football as we know it. And it's difficult because when you've dedicated your life watching a team, supporting them through thick and thin, through all the highs and all the lows, and for them just to completely not just turn their backs on their own fan base, not just the top 6 club fan bases, but every single club in England, it's really difficult to wrap your head around. It's hard to accept. It's hard to it's just difficult to process. And I am so unbelievably pissed off about this. Of course you all know what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the sodding European, well, it's the Super League. People call it the European Super League. It is being dubbed, that's what it's being dubbed as. It is just what the current 12 clubs are just calling the Super League. And while I can accept that FIFA as an organisation is shit, UEFA as an organisation is shit, the Premier League is also completely shit and is completely rigged in the favour of the top 6 clubs in England, you can't then justify going against the likes of FIFA, UEFA, by selling out all your fans, every single person who goes to your games week in, week out, follows the club week in, week out, pledging their lives. When non-football fans argue, like, why do you care so much? You know, football isn't more than a sport, especially in the UK. It's a culture. And it might sound cringe or cliche, but it's a culture. It's not just a sport to some people. It's something you don't have to, but people do dedicate their lives to. Some people have been supporting the likes of Liverpool and Manchester United for decades. Season ticket holders putting thousands and thousands of pounds into that club because they want to see a team that not only just plays football, but it represents the community. It represents the culture of that city or of your town that you come from. That's what a football club is. It is the It's the ambassador. It's the representation of your town's culture, of its everything about it comes into that football club. So when you support a football team, you're not just supporting the crest, you're not just supporting the players on the pitch. You are the community in which that football club represents. And while, it's never been perfect, and a lot of clubs, a lot of fans of football who are not fans of teams in the top six will say that it's not been perfect, and I will be completely admit that the Premier League and the way that the Premier League set up was to sort of cash in on these big six teams that is now come about, and it's fueled basically to make them bigger, really. And while I can accept that, and accept that while it's, not perfect, I just can't accept that owners, these billionaire owners of the top six clubs, are so willing to scrap off these people who pledge their lives, to shrug off the communities in which these teams are supposed to represent in order to make a quick buck just because the Premier League aren't giving you enough money. The fact that some of your money is going to the likes of lower end teams or into the EFL. And in a time where football has been so important, especially to the UK, through lockdowns, football has continued. It's something to look forward to at the weekend, something to look forward to midweek. It's something that has really given people a lot of comfort during what has been an awful time over the last 12 months. And just to then go to them and say, well, we don't care about you. We're going to go off and do our own thing because we don't care about you. We don't care about you, the fans. Those loyal fans that come each and every week, watch you each and every week, because we want some people in Qatar or Saudi Arabia to start supporting our club. We want people in China, in the US, to support our club. We don't even want them to really support. We just want them to buy tickets. We want them to buy merchandise. I want them to come to a game between Chelsea and Barcelona, and I want them to come buy Chelsea shirts, buy Chelsea scarves and hats. And this is what this is. It's not about making football better. It's not about making it more exciting. It's about how much money can these teams make. If you're really going to call it a Super League, and if you are doing it about the football, one, you'd probably organise it with an UEFA or FIFA. You wouldn't just split off from them. And you wouldn't be so willing to just throw away, the fans that have supported these teams for so long now. And it's just so irritating that it's come to this. And while it has been coming to, people were saying years and years ago that this was going to happen. And it kind of felt inevitable. But the way that they've done it, just feels like the biggest gut punch and the biggest backstab ever. And as someone who, like I've already said, like someone who already, I support Chelsea. I support them, and I always have done. And then to know that your team is responsible for something that could completely cripple the English football pyramid system. It's soul crushing. I love football. I love all tiers of football. I think the Championship, especially, is the greatest league in the world. I think it is an absolutely outstanding league. But you can go to English non-league football, and it's amazing. Real grassroots football is really good. And to be a part, to be a fan of a club that's actively, well, they are actively, maybe not through, intention, but definitely through deeds, are trying to ruin that. Because what happens when the top six sod off in the Premier League? While that may be great and appealing for non-top six sides, so the likes of Everton, the likes of West Ham, what happens? Because let's face it, at the end of the day, it's the top six that bring in the Premier League money. It's the reason why BT and Sky pay billions and billions of pounds to secure Premier League, TV rights. It's the reason why they're so expensive. It's because of those top six teams. And when they go, and if they decide, or the Premier League decides that these teams should leave, should, be excluded from the Premier League, you're going to find that a lot of the money from the Premier League is going to disappear. And that doesn't have just a knock-on effect for the Premier League, but also for the EFL and lower categories. And it puts the whole English football sort of pyramid into jeopardy. And while I am kind of talking a lot of, what may be, because at the moment the Premier League haven't said anything. We don't know. It's only UEFA and FIFA that have really come out and said anything. But if the Premier League do decide to kick the clubs from the Premier League, then, or deduct points, or relegate them, or whatever they want to do, it is going to have a big effect. And it will fuel the arguments for these 12 teams, of why they should have done what they've done. But, from, speaking now, rather than a football fan, but as a Chelsea fan now, we've got to a Champions League semi-final this year. Got to an FA Cup final. We're fighting for the Premier League top four. What's wrong with that? The Champions League is a great competition. Yes, it has its flaws. And I've seen their, whatever sort of changes they're wanting to make to it. And it seems pretty terrible if you ask me. But the current system of the Champions League, I think, is great. It is the best teams from the best leagues in Europe coming together to fight it out in one competition, and it's always different every year. It's never the same. It's never one season does never reflect the next season. And that's the greatness of it. And getting far in it is a great achievement. And for Chelsea to be in the semi-finals this year, after what has been pretty rough couple of seasons, it's great. The fact that we get to play Real Madrid. We haven't played Real Madrid in the Champions League in so long. I cannot really remember the last time that Chelsea played Real Madrid in the Champions League. And that's the beauty of it. It's not just, the same thing over and over again. I don't want to be playing Real Madrid twice a year. And if we stay in the Premier League, I don't want to be playing the likes of Manchester City, Liverpool, Arsenal, United. I don't want to be playing them 4 times in a season. It's boring. It gets repetitive. It gets boring, and suddenly the magic of it is all over. While playing them, once every few years, it's an occasion. It makes it a bit more dramatic. It makes it great, and that is the beauty of the Champions League, even the Europa League. So why ruin that? Why actively try and just ruin that just because you're not getting enough money? Just because you feel like you've got a bad deal? If you've got a bad deal, go to UEFA, go to FIFA. Try and figure something out. Don't just split off. Spit out your dummy. Act like spoiled brats. Because that's not the way that this should work. Football is made by the fans and it's for the fans. And what you would have seen, football is nothing, absolutely nothing without fans. Many clubs were started by fans. It's the same reason that Wimbledon, for example, AFC Wimbledon, it's still the Wimbledon we think of when we go back to the sort of their bad boy era. We don't think of them as MK Dons anymore. We don't associate Wimbledon with MK Dons. It's just so sad that it's come to this at this time. And it's just all about these clubs sort of lining their pockets. But the problem is, and the real problem with this is, while I can hope and while I can dream that this won't go ahead, this won't happen, this is all just a way for them to try and make a point. The sad reality is these chairmen, they don't make idle threats. Being a Chelsea fan, I know how brutal Roman Abramovich is. I've seen 15, 16, 17 managers come and go since I started supporting Chelsea. I know that Roman Abramovich is not someone who plays around. Same with the Glazers or Sheep Mansour. They're not people who just play around for the sake of playing around. And I think what we've seen with Jose Mourinho being sacked by Tottenham, I don't think it's about results. Does anyone really think it's about results? To sack a manager like a week before a Carabao Cup final? Tottenham's arguably their best hope for a trophy for a very long time. You don't just sack a manager for that. And if Jurgen Klopp goes from Liverpool, what happens then? Watching Sky saying Jamie Carragher saying there'd be uproar from the fans. 100%. 100,000,000%. While I'm happy, to give Liverpool fans grief, just sort of in the sort of the normal football banter way. The one thing I can respect about Liverpool is just their amazing sense of community when it comes to their club. And the fact that those fans will fight tooth and nail for everything. And Jurgen Klopp, I think, is the man who can unravel this all. If I'm being completely honest, I think I know Jurgen Klopp has already come out and said that he's not like this idea. He said it 2 years ago and he said it now. That he does not like this and his stance has not changed. If he steps down from Liverpool over this, and say at the end of the season, I won't expect him to go now. Liverpool are in a tight race and they need him right now. But if Jurgen Klopp leaves Liverpool at the end of the season because he doesn't want to play in the Super League, that could be, the straw that breaks the camel's back. Because Jurgen Klopp is immensely important for Liverpool fans. He's an extremely respected manager, like Jose Mourinho, like, many of the major managers in European football. Jurgen Klopp is incredibly well respected, and he is someone who can make the real change here. I wish I could roll out my own club for that, but it's looking like Thomas Tuchel is really looking for a new contract, which slightly irritates me. But, at the end of the day, he's trying to keep his job, and it's irritating that all the work that Tuchel could have done has done this year could be completely unravelled by the greed. I really thought we had it may sound big-headed or might sound deluded, but I really thought we had a decent shot at the Champions League this year. I thought the battle against Real is going to be really good. Perhaps make it to the final. And we could be chucked out of it. And if we are, well, it is what we deserve. If we get deducted points in the Premier League, well, I really wanted top 4, but at the end of the day, it's what we deserve. It's not like we're going to be playing Champions League football next year anyway. And, it is so frustrating. Do we even get an FA Cup final? Does it go to Leicester? Does the Champions League go to PSG? I don't know. It's so disheartening. And I know I've rambled and I know I've ranted, but it's things that I had to say. I'm gutted. I really am. It's such a betrayal. It's just so disappointing. And unfortunately it was inevitable. And it was going to happen. And it is going to happen. These teams are not going to back down. They have all the power right now. FIFA can make their threats, UEFA can make their threats, and they're going to go. And because then they know that they are going to make billions from this. They're going to make billions and billions from this. Because for people who aren't, English fans, or, they're going to want to see Barcelona versus, AC Milan, Liverpool versus Real Madrid. They're going to want to see, the likes of Chelsea versus Inter Milan, or Chelsea versus Atletico. But for me, it's just greed. It's awful, and I know, and I respect the fact that FIFA is corrupt. It's incredibly corrupt. It's been corrupt for years. UEFA is corrupt. We've seen how blatantly UEFA can be corrupt. I know the Premier League is shit as an organisation, but something has to be done. Something has to be done, because this can't continue. This can't just happen. We can't let this happen. Something has to be done. I don't know what we can do. Boycotts aren't going to work. Protests are probably not going to work. And like I said, it's going to take someone big, to turn around and say no. Step down, put their job on the line. Say no, stand up, stand tall. And that's what it's going to have to take. Because when you're being backed by a big American bank who are willing to pay £3.4 billion, and share it out to the 12 founding clubs. It's something difficult to contend with. Money talks, and when it's 3.4 billion, it talks very, very loudly. So, thank you for listening. If you have made it this far, let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. This is really not the style of video that I usually do. I wasn't really planning on posting much, just because I'm sort of trying to get my work done, and sort of university sort of getting a bit on top of me at the moment. But feel free to let me know what you think about this. I know the sort of reaction to this has been very similar to my own, but what can we do? What can be done? That is the question that I want to know. I want to know what is the true plan for this Super League, and then what can be done to stop it. So, thank you guys so much for watching. My name's been Louis Edwards. Thank you, and goodbye.